Yo, what's good, you guys? Today is December 18th, 2023. And as the year closes, we have a lot to be thankful for, man. It's been a really nice year, not just only in crypto, but just honestly, if you're out there, you're on your job, you stand on business, you should be feeling pretty good about the things that you've accomplished. I know I do. There's some things on my list that's I'm like, hey, you know what? I still would like to go for those things. And maybe I didn't get it this year, but guess what? Got a whole nother year next year. 2024 is upon us. So, man, I appreciate the progress that we've made with the channel. I thank you guys constantly for coming through and learning with me. I consider this to be the aspect of me sharing my learning experience with you guys here in crypto and macro. And this has been nothing short of just awesome, enlightening, and enjoyable. So I thank you guys, and I hope that you guys have gotten the benefits that I have from what we're doing here on the channel. I really appreciate y'all. So, Alberto, we got the usuals. What's up, my G? Wade, of course, first in the chat. And yeah, we do have a nice little correction, which hopefully it sustains, and maybe we get a little bit more dippy with the dip. So we can adjust accordingly. What's good? Hopefully you get a chance to stay for the whole thing. Who else we got? We got Smooth Brain. Hey, and the insights that I'm giving are only solely meant to give value and give you all the tools. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do or what they should do. Sometimes I give my opinion on what I think people shouldn't do. But, just like anybody that cares about someone else, you're going to let them know, hey, your experience and things that have helped you get on track. And so I just kind of share my life story in different realms that I've been in and apply them to this whole investing game, which a lot of the stuff is the same, which kind of leans into the topic of, what we're talking about today. Of course, we're going to get into some charts and information, and hopefully we can all know where we're at in the cycle and assess what we need to do as investors. But the concept of winning and losing is a universal thing that people don't even realize that they're partaking in every single day that they wake up. So as y'all know, I've played sports for a very long time. It seems like my whole life, since I was, just a baby, it seems. But I started playing sports at a very, very young age, 6 years old, and did it well up into my late 20s. So, long time experiencing wins and losses. And from a young age, learning how to deal with the losses, but then also learning how to win the right way. And because winning is more than just, okay, cool, got a W in the column of, the win column, and losing is much more than just, hey, we didn't get the job done. It actually takes you on a mental, emotional journey. And investing is the exact same way. You have to be in a mental state and an emotional state to do anything on this earth. And depending on that state, a lot of the time is going to give you the results. So one thing or several things that we'll talk about today is how to get to good results. How do I achieve good results? Because winning is, I would say, so a lot of times when we even go to work, do you know that there's an opportunity to win and there's an opportunity to lose? Sometimes we just move around. So a lot of times we conflate moving around, doing things with taking action. So I hope you all understand and get that. There's a difference between doing something and taking action. Um, my goal every single day is to take action. And this action is a progressive action that leads to results, right? Nothing is ill placed, nothing is mismanaged. Hopefully, everything is calculated and done to the best of my ability. And the thing is, everyone has different abilities. The whole point of wanting to win is to get the most out of yourself. I think that's the best part of freedom that anybody can have. And not necessarily the expectations that we place on ourselves, but asking yourself internally, hey, how do I get the most out of me? How do I really live this life? And living is an action word. So really placing yourself in the mind state of saying, hey, did I win today? Did I lose today? Some people is counteractive because when they lose, they get down on themselves too much and then they don't like that inner battle. But I'd rather have an inner battle, a positive inner battle with myself of saying, hey, I know I can do this. The constant, okay, computing in my head, what else can I do better today? How can I give a better version of me to the people around me? That those constant thoughts are what keep me going, and I'm sure it's what keep you guys going too. Like there has to be a end point to where you're saying, "Hey, I'm doing this for a reason." And some of it can be selfish. Some of it can be, "Hey, I'm doing this so I can feel like I am becoming the person that I'd like to be." And the reason why you do that is so you can be a great person to other people. So people are an extension of you, your family, your friends, your relationships. Everybody gets a chance to experience you. What type of person are they experiencing? And sometimes, and we're not sitting here saying like, hey, well, I don't want to be a loser or people see me as a loser. I just want to say, hey, as I walk this earth, the purpose that I know God has put me here for, I feel like I'm living in that purpose every single day and progressing in it. And if you're doing that, then you're winning. And trust me, if you have the mindset and the try hard to try to do that every single day, then that means you're achieving. And like I said, that's the best type of feeling, one of the best feelings that someone could have because you're not just waking up and just letting life take control of you. You are controlling your life. And that's essentially what discipline is. It's a set of choices that you're choosing to do, even when you don't want to, but you're doing it to get to a result that's beneficial, hopefully. And a lot of things that people don't have in life, but also investing, they don't have any discipline. They don't have any risk management. They don't have any, hey, if this happens, I'm going to plan for this. Critical thinking. They're just letting it take them by storm. And so in crypto, you can't do that. You're going to end up in an automatic L if you're just going at this thing willy nilly. But then again, that's life too. You go at anything willy nilly, you're going to take an L. But sometimes losses can be the best teachers. Losses can teach you more than winning ever could. But it's about what you do with that feeling, that emotion of a loss. That, oh man, I missed the mark. Oh man, that didn't go how I expected. How do you respond? And it's that inner positive self thinking, that inner positive confidence that can teach you, okay, cool. I know that I have another opportunity to win. But if I'm not looking at this thing in terms of winning and losing, then you'll just take those losses throughout life. And then once again, your life is controlling you. You're not controlling your life. And so we have to lean into constant positive speak to ourselves, get around people that are going in a direction that you're going towards. And I hope that you can actually look at this stuff as like, hey, am I winning or losing? Because sometimes you got to know when you're losing and make the adjustments to start winning. And so, especially in crypto, if you found yourself buying the top, if you found yourself not allocated enough, and you didn't get to the goal that you were trying to get to last cycle or the cycle before or whatever, that means you lost. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the opportunity is, all right, today and then tomorrow and then this next week and this next month. What did you do this past year to help you win, especially in this thing called crypto, this game of finance that is changing the world, whether people realize it or not? So, with that being said, that's the thing. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're gonna get started, but I did want to literally just touch the tip of the iceberg when it comes to conceptualizing winning and losing. Winning is a beautiful power that you can harness that could take you to places that you could never imagine. I know it did for myself. As a young kid, I never thought I can play a professional sport. It would have been cool. It would have been nice, but the average person, less than not even 1% even make it to professional anything in the sports world. And so I can really say one of the few things that helped me do it was the fact that I viewed and I still view almost everything in my life, not everything. You have to categorize certain things as, hey, is this a win or is this a loss? And I've learned to deal with losses well, and everybody has to learn how to deal with losses. But you got to have that thing inside of you saying, okay, I lost, but guess what? I get to come back tomorrow and I'm going to win again tomorrow. And then the next day, and then the next day. And then I compound the wins. I wake up early. I do what I need to do. I get every task done. I'm on time. Nobody's saying, hey, did you remember to? Nope, I got it. I remember. I didn't forget. Being on top of your game and always trying to be on top of your game is what's going to get you guys to win in crypto, but especially in life. Don't miss a beat. Take pride in doing things well. And if you have a loss here and there, learn from it. Don't do it again. So if y'all have any comments, if y'all have any experience, I'd love to hear it in the chat. I really appreciate you guys. We got to get the sub count up. Tell a friend, tell a buddy, subscribe and like it as we are going through this stream here. I want your guys' opinion. How do you guys handle wins and losses? What are your thoughts? What's up, Jen Esquire? Salute to you, my friend. Um, Losses are not easy, especially when you have an immature mind. I remember as a kid, shedding tears that, oh man, I put everything I had, the blood, sweat, and tears into, playing football or basketball, and I gave it everything, and man, the team missed the mark. I would wear that, and I'm just like, man, I could have did more. And sometimes you can't do any more. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, the way that the sequence goes. But that's sometimes what you need. Sometimes you got to put it on yourself, even though it's not your fault, even though you've done everything that you knew to do. Still put it on you to say, hey, you know what, I can do better than this. Even if you did a good job, is how you get it done. It's like an impetus you place on yourself for high proficiency in whatever it is that you're putting that impetus on. Saying, hey, I'm going to try to make this even better. So this is the frame that, I know a lot of successful people, there's something that all of them have in common. And it's not the fact that they can't accept, hey, enough is enough, but it's the urge to say, hey, what else is around this corner? What else can I do to just get a little bit more out of this thing that I'm doing called life? And you already know what compounding looks like. Like imagine seeing your crypto bags compounding in a bull market. You can actually start to understand what that looks like today. Compounding. Set some goals for yourself and say, hey, did I do it? And do that every single day for a month. 30 days, 31 days to see, hey, can I compound 30 goals in a row? So you'll understand what that feels like. Hey, am I going to stick to my DCA consistently for these next 3 months? All right, boom, 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 boom. Am I going to write it down? Am I going to track it? What's my cost basis? Okay, like all these things are pretty simple. All of us can do it. Making a plan. Making a plan is as simple as writing down pen to paper. It really is. So we give ourselves too many excuses, and the more excuses that you give yourself and the people around you, the more likelihood that you're going to lose. That's just straight up. If you don't see that as a problem, then that's the problem. And so a lot of people are not looking deeply enough to see, hey, what am I even doing? They're just moving, right? Because like I said before, you wake up, oh man, I gotta be at work. Okay, go to work. Okay, cool. You complete your things at work. You come back home, you eat, hang out, maybe play the video game, call somebody on the phone. You eat again probably, snack on a whole bunch of stuff that's not good for you. That's one thing that I even me, I have no problem with even saying and admitting, hey, this is areas of my life that I'm just like, you know what? I need to be better at this. Man, I love junk food. But I know long term, because you have to think about these things, even if you may be a young person, long term, this stuff is really killing you. This fast food, all this processed stuff, right? And then so I have to ask myself, hey, what are you going to do about it? Or are you just going to just do what you've done for some time? You have to decide to make a change. So in that area, for example, I have to decide to make a change. And when things are, you want to get serious before it's time to get serious, right? For example, you want to get serious about something before that's your only basic option, like, dang, if I don't get serious about this right now, then, something's going to happen that you don't want. You need to get serious before that. It doesn't mean you have to live your whole life in a serious manner, but a part of it, yeah, I think people should and take it personal to do so. Because if you don't take things serious in life, that's another thing. How are you going to expect good outcomes? Or it's kind of important, but not really. You put that in any aspect of your life, how are you going to get a good outcome? So when it comes to this crypto stuff, you got to realize, yo, this is serious. This is y'all's hard-earned money that you are exchanging for an asset. Choose wisely, pick wisely, go about it in a way that's going to be beneficial for you and you alone. Everybody has a different plan. It's up to us to grab the tools, learn to the best of our capacity. Everybody has different capacity, but whatever your capacity is, try to do it your best. And there's so many people that do a million great things here on YouTube. Use what works for you, add it to your toolbox, and continue to pound away. Continue to build your house. Continue to build the life that you want. And it's a beautiful feeling because you're doing the work. And crypto is another aspect of that as well. It's like, hey, you're doing the work. I love what Richard Hart says. He's like, hey, when you interact with anything within Hex, hey, you're doing the work. No one's doing it for you. And that's the mindset that we even need to be in life and investing. Hey, you're doing the work. No one else can do it for you. So it's a great opportunity because when you do things well, this is just another thing for you to do well in. And I mean, like we're talking about basic freedoms because, out in the real world, a lot of this is a fugazi, man. A lot of this is just smoke and mirrors in terms of, the real freedoms that we're supposed to have, truthfully. Uh, but I think the real power that each one of us and each person can hold on to, and nobody could ever take it, is the power within yourself and the actions that you take on a daily basis. Like I said before. All right. So what you guys got to say? So I put losses to pen and paper and try to have, so a little bit of an evaluation and general takeaways. Also having lines in the sands that could alert me that I'm heading towards a loss. Yeah. So this is all leading into preparation. Preparation is like one of the biggest factors. Okay. So I've been asked this question maybe a handful of times on, hey, how did you get to be able to do this? Or how did, this work out for you? And, what were some of the things that you did? If I were to sum it up, just anything, and as far as my experience goes, is the first thing is the will to want to do something good for yourself. That's the first thing. If you don't have that, things will go and then they'll leave. So when you have the will to want to do something, it'll give you the drive to continue on, even though things may not be perfect. Now, the second part of that is discipline, to be honest. Like, discipline is huge. It's basically creating a code of conduct for you taking control of your life in certain areas and saying, hey, this is like what you're saying right here. Like, this is the line in the sand. Like, it's either going to be on this side or that side. Same thing. It's going to be a win or a loss. Hey, did you do this or did you not do it? And then you got to do that throughout many different areas and many different parts of the day. So discipline. Consistency would be the next thing. Because the biggest thing is the more that you do something, the more that you can understand it, the more that you've experienced it, the more that you can go through the emotions and the mental process of, going from A to B or completing X task, the more familiarity that you'll receive. All of these things are great benefits to the person doing it. Versus, so like, let's say if there's a person that gets out and goes on a 5 mile bike ride 5 days a week to train for, whatever event that he's doing, versus the person that only does it once a week, there's a very high probability that the guy that does it, 5 times a week is going to perform better than the person that only does it once a week. Unless this one guy is just superhuman. And every now and again, sometimes people get lucky and they can still win from putting minimal effort. But that's just not the case for most people. And so you got to go with what's the normal, um, and say, hey, what is necessary to be better than most people? And not in a way of saying like, oh, I'm better than you because I can do X, Y, and Z, but just basically saying, hey, in terms of trying hard, I'm gonna be better than myself yesterday. But no, I think it's a great thing. Knowing when you may be heading towards a loss or towards decisions that would lead to a loss is a good thing to be aware of. I think that's a really good one. What else we got? I believe taking L's are lessons, but taking a win is an objective to the bigger goal you set for yourself. Yeah, I agree with that as well because, for example, playing a season of football, the whole point of playing the games in the regular season is to what? Get to the playoffs. And the whole point of going through the playoffs is to, guess what? Get to the big dance, make it to the Super Bowl. And the whole point of doing all of that stuff is to win the Super Bowl. So the idea is to stack up several wins to get to your last final big win. That's like the ultimate goal, in the professional world of football. And like literally, guys spend winter, summer, fall training every single week through injury, people saying different things if they're not playing well, through them messing up on the field, through them getting things right on the field, them starting one game and maybe not starting the next game. It's like a continual fight to be the best you can be, all for one common goal, and that's to win the Super Bowl. And it's a collective group effort, you know. And so, there's an interesting thing about that is like, having one huge objective, and it's almost something that like when I set a goal, when I'm like saying, hey, this is like the big crescendo, this is like the big thing, it's almost something that even I can barely fathom. It's like, man, like I don't know, that's pretty out there. But you gotta do that. You gotta set and see yourself higher than you ever think you could go. Because if you don't do that, then you know, you'll like if you do that, and even if you fall short of that, you'll fall a lot higher than where most people even are trying to go for themselves. So you gotta set your goal astronomically, like on a whole different level. That's something that you don't even realize is even possible. And make those small wins towards it. And then you look back 5 years later, you look back 10 years later, and you're like, dang, man, like I came so much further than where I was. So, all that stuff is important. What's good, Crypto Slaw? How you feeling, my man? But let's go. We've been on this, for about 25 minutes. We talked about winning and losing. What does it take to win? Let's kind of segue into that same concept within crypto. What does it take to win in crypto? And believe it or not, a lot of this is just consistency and just waiting. Consistency, discipline. Don't do anything stupid. But you have to learn the things not to do. So let's jump in. We will see where we're at currently. I think the first thing that we'll look at is Ethereum. So let's do this. All right. So Ethereum is $2,167. And let me see if I can get this to reload for me. Take a sip. I have this morning I have some of this. It's like some cinnamon apple cider. It's pretty dang good. Sometimes you can warm it up. It's cold outside. All right. So All right, this popped up dominance. We don't want to look at dominance right now. If this is going to lag on me, then shoot, we might just have to go back to just talking about winning this. All right, we should be good. So Ethereum. Let's take a look and see what's going on here. I want to say we have an opportunity to come back down to a range that is a nice accumulation spot, in the journey for Ethereum. Looking for assets here. So one thing I always remind me on my way to winning in investing, I'm like, hey, where are the assets? Good assets. Why are they good? What about them? What do they have that others don't? And these are all questions that you can ask for yourself. All right, we can take the Bollinger Bands off, and we'll take these off for now. Cool. So Ethereum, obviously looking at things long term, it's looking very good. And the reason why I can say this is I've looked at, I don't know, thousands of charts. And this one looks better than most of them. So put it in the right category, right? So Ethereum is sitting at, a little bit less than 200 or so, 2020 bucks. And it's on a nice journey here. One thing that, we're seeing is just a nice smooth trajectory of higher lows. So we had something similar last cycle, but this cycle has been a very similar trajectory and a small incremental growth. Some people say that this is boring. Like, oh man, Ethereum's lagging behind. I'm like, nope, Ethereum's right on time. It allows you to DCA longer. The fact that, one, you need to be aware of something before other people is key as an investor, but then the action that you take, the way that you interact with what you know. And so, Ethereum is in a position of just nice, slow wealth growth. Like the way that I see a lot of these charts is like, okay, how is my wealth growing? And I've always said slow growth to wealth is actually, sometimes like, man, I don't want to wait, you know, 4 years, 8 years for wealth. But if you put that in the grand scheme of things, that's really not that long. Like in traditional finance, typically it takes like 60 years to be like, oh, snap, a Warren Buffett. Like Warren Buffett didn't get the most of his net worth until like the last like 20 years of his life, man. Same thing with Charlie Munger. Like these guys, they had to wait an extremely long time due to what was available to them and what they were willing to do with their risk tolerance. They could have bought Bitcoin a long time ago, but they didn't. They could have bought Ethereum a long time ago, but they didn't. Or who knows? Maybe they did. They just didn't publicly say that. But I see this chart as, hey, smooth wealth growth. Smooth. And this is through a span of, since what, mid 2020, we've had an opportunity to DCA into Ethereum in between, 2,000 and 1,000 bucks. So that's a very tight range. The volatility for Ethereum is, pretty subtle compared to, the prior cycle before we get a nice lift off here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and pop on the DCA tracker. So this is a metric that I made that, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to use it, bringing it to market here pretty soon along two other metrics I have here at the bottom, the risk metric, and then also understanding the fear and greed for every single asset out here, any particular asset. But let's see what we're looking like. So this is, let's go to the 3-day chart. Fibonacci candles to show us trend and momentum. And then let's see, what does it have for us? So, nothing is going to fire off if the asset is above the 100-day moving average. So ideally, the parameters that I set was to only flash by signal under the 100-day moving average. So currently we're above it. But, we get close to that thing, this thing is going to flash off if we even touch it. If we have any wick below it, it should flash off. And that's pending if the other metrics are hit as well. So Ethereum is trekking higher, and there was opportunity all throughout 2022 and 2023. Plenty of times for us to go and get some really good buys in. So that's that consistency I was talking about. Some people only try to wait for like a specific low, and and I'll say why that's a mistake. I mean, there's people still waiting for $600 Ethereum. They're waiting for a specific price and not taking into consideration momentum and time. So I think these are frameworks that lead to a losing outcome. And I think these people get these frameworks from, looking at Twitter too much or not saying, hey, slow and steady wins the race. Like, if people would have waited for $600 Ethereum or even like $700 Ethereum, guess what? They never got it. So they would have missed a chance to get a good DCA at several points because the whole goal as an investor is to try to build a position. Just like how you build a house, you gotta, you gotta go ahead and do all of the deforestation, right? You got trees, you gotta break them down. You gotta get everything nice and flat before you can put your foundation. Then you put your foundation, then you put your rod iron, and then you can go ahead, right? Go ahead and put the studs up, and then you go ahead and drywall, all that stuff, paint, fixtures, roof, all that stuff towards the ends. But it's a whole process. So anybody that thinks that they're gonna build a house of wealth off of one big buy, just hey, I'm gonna just buy it all right here at $600, or I'm gonna wait. There's a time to build. Like the ideal time to build, right? And this is for y'all that maybe don't know real estate so much. The ideal time to build is in the winter because people tend to buy homes more in the summer. Why? Because their kids are out of school. There's that opportunity for them to make moves across the country during the summer. Typically, prices for real estate are highest during the summer. So, builders, contractors typically do their bidding and do what they got to do, go get the permits in the winter. And so that's what we've had with the bear market. And I'm hoping I can explain this into real life terms because, like I said, all this stuff is the same. You have to think in the same way when it comes to building your wealth. So, people that are waiting for $600 Ethereum would have missed great buy opportunities here at 1100. Would have missed another buy opportunity here at 1600. Another one here at 1200. Same thing, 1200. Another one at 1200 and some change. And before we took off at 1600. So that's a blended average. All you got to do is this is basic math. You take your buys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You divide them by the amount of times that you bought. So, hey, take your price here, here, price, 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 and divide them by 6 in this scenario. Now, when y'all see this metric, y'all are going to see something where it says, okay, it says sell, sell, sell. I am not telling you guys to sell. This is just showing you, hey, when things are overheated. So I might have to just change. I think I might do this. Overheated. I'm going to change this to say overheated instead of sell. Because ideally, you want to do that towards the extreme valuations. And you can see extreme valuations mainly on the monthly chart. So let's check over there. So the monthly chart. And for example, this is where we see the sell signals that pop up after consecutive, months of positive growth. And let's kind of get this thing in full. So 7 months of positive growth, then you'll see some sort of a sell on the monthly chart. That would be something a little bit more reasonable if you're considering selling an asset that is going to give you exponential growth. Not on a daily, not on a weekly. So having that core foundation is key. But same thing is going to give you those generational buys with very low risk premium. So boom, right there, right for COVID, incredible time. Price is never going to be that low again. It's never going to go back down to 164 bucks. So you got to ask yourself when you're DCAing, when you're buying other things that are maybe in their first cycle, or maybe in their second cycle, or their first bear market, for example. You got to ask yourself, hey, what is the whole point of me doing this and going so hard? Because potentially maybe there's a chance that price will never come this low again. So I got to eat while the eating is good. So, so you would use this metric for the macro pivots here to be able to see, hey, when is an equitable time to go ahead and take some profits. So that's a big benefit. So now outside of that, we can use these other aspects. So let's actually go back down to the weekly chart. All right. So we got the weekly chart. Now I've created this other thing which inspired me because the fear and greed for Bitcoin inspired me to use some similar parameters. But you can do this for any asset, any crypto, especially. You can say, hey, what is the risk premium? Because the risk premium is high when there's a lot of greed, and the risk premium is low when there's a lot of fear. So this is something that we can all partake in. And let's take a look. So this metric is essentially an oscillator. I love oscillators because it really gets you to see overvaluation and undervaluation. It's an oscillator, and I mean it goes all the way down to 0, all the way up to 100, but the red is here in 50. Here at the bottom is 25. So zero point 0.5 and 0.25. Green is saying that, hey, the risk premium is low. And so this is a 2-year forward look. So a 2-year approximation saying, hey, if I make this purchase on a scale of 2 years, the likelihood of this being a low risk buy, or for example, a low risk sell, at these top portions, is going to be, either high or low. So for example, if you're a person that wants to be a buyer, you're gaining a position, you're wanting your risk premium to be low. The closer it is to 0.25, the better. Below 0.25, hey, you should be eating all you can eat. And we can see that confluence several different times here in the last cycle. So you can see this risk metric goes below 0.25 and stays down there for quite some time. So from August 2019 to April 2020, so almost 8 or 9 months for you to DCA pretty well. And so the beautiful thing is, the reason why I created this suite of metrics, it really helps me get the confluence that I'm looking for with several different types of ways of looking at the market. So I'm looking at it from an aspect of momentum with the Heikin-Ashi, dollar cost average trend. I'm looking at it from a standpoint of risk. Hey, what is my risk premium? And I'm looking at a standpoint of fear and greed, which I'll introduce here in a sec. All those things matter. And then so, hey, put your vertical lines in your chart to say, hey, okay, I'm seeing a buy signal. Am I also seeing my risk premium pretty low, below, 0.2? Okay, cool. And you can get that confluence, and that's what gives you the huge confidence that, all right, cool, I can put a nice sizable chunk of my dollars that I know that's not going to value me. And if I have a 2-year preference or time frame, the likelihood of this buy being a good one increases the lower that this goes into the green. So kind of see this green color as like, hey, I'm in the money, because you make money on the buy, not necessarily on the sell. You capture the money on the sell, but you make the money. You set the process of being able to make the money when you buy. So same thing. We have that confluence as well here in this previous bear market. So this buy signal there, buy signal here, and the buy signal here. So these three, all of them were when the risk premium was extremely low. So this is extremely low, but below 0.2. And you get above 0.5 and you start to get into like 70 at the top of the last cycle. I mean, we hit one, 100%. So that should let you know, hey, risk is extremely high. I mean, to be honest, for me personally, and whatever asset that I'm looking at, ideally you want to try to accumulate this before we go past the halfway point on the risk scale. So past 50% level, that's too high of a risk, in my opinion, for me. So, all of this stuff that we've experienced in 2023 has been pretty good. And then I set the parameter, hey, I don't want to buy anything above this 100-day moving average. Like I said, that's personal preference for me. But it really keeps things in frame to say, hey, I'm going to be able to get pullbacks, because a lot of pullbacks, even in the uptrend, sometimes they do come in and test that 100-day moving average. And so we may have an opportunity here as 100-day moving average moves up. If we stay sideways or this comes down, that may be another DC opportunity. But it's about the preparation, seeing it before it comes, not just reacting to it. That's how it's gonna, kind of go as a savvy investor, what you need to do. So another thing so let's actually condense this down. So we know right now we have a decently high risk premium. It's not the highest as if we're at the top of the bull, but it's not low either. We're somewhere, in the middle of the pack, in between the oscillator here. And so ideally, we'd like this maybe over the next week if Bitcoin wants to continue to chill out or come down, which it has been doing. We were at what, 44K? We've dropped down to 41. If we come back down to 38, 39, you should start to see this risk premium go down for Ethereum. Now, why am I talking about Ethereum now? Well, for DeFi and for things that have some type of liquidity bonded or touching Ethereum via stablecoins or ETH itself, Ethereum is a good proxy to go off of. So Ethereum is something that you really want to study. Now let's take a look at, okay, what does the fear and greed look like for this trade here? And if we pop this up, I have this metric that I got inspired off of the Bitcoin fear and greed. And I was like kind of mad because I'm just like, man, there's no fear and greed for any other assets, right? And not everything is on the same string as Bitcoin all the time. So what I've done here is, coded up, similar parameters, but what I did was I based it on a 100-day look back. So let me explain what the 100-day look back means and what it is. So a 100-day look back is saying, hey, I'm taking an aggregates sentiment read on the past 100 days to plot where the chart is currently or where the metric is currently as the average. And so these blue lines go back 100 days. So, we have, on the grand scheme of things for Ethereum, we have been an incredible, like extremely fearful, which is a great buying opportunity since June or July. Well, we'll call it July of 2022, all the way up until about October. And we experienced the same thing here in the last cycle where we were very flat. And so we're below. And, we can go ahead and expand this a little bit more than 100 days. So let's do that. Okay, boom. And so, we have spent considerable time underneath, and same thing. And this one is a little bit different. It goes from 20 all the way up to about 80. And then obviously anything above 80 is extreme greed. Anything below 20 is extreme fear. So, you want to be a dollar cost averager in, or I would say not necessarily in, around or below, these levels. 20% of the market, you can kind of see it like that. Hey, 80% of the market is extremely fearful, and then so 20% of the people, that's the way I see this metric, have the opportunity to win. When 100% of the market is greedy, if you're buying at that point, and you ain't gonna, it's like a low chance of you winning. So with that being said, you want to be a part of the low risk premium but high reward potential cohort. So from this last cycle, from August 2018 to March 2020, you would have done well just dollar cost averaging. And so same thing here. So this gaining wealth is a long-term process. Here, we were around or below this 20 metric for, the extreme fear level for Ethereum for quite some time as well. So from June of 2022 to October of 2023. Now, the question is, as we trend higher, how do we dollar cost average into the markets and catch the dips? So using some of these metrics can help. Ideally, you want to see a buy signal on the weekly, but if you are saying, hey, I'm kind of behind the 8 ball, what you could potentially do is throw this on the 3-day chart. It'll give you a little bit more data here. So a little bit more opportunities to buy. And if you're saying, hey, I need to expeditiously kind of get into this market, then looking at this chart on the daily. And so what you'll see is an incredible amounts of buy opportunities on the daily. Same thing when we are below this 100-day moving average. So here, all of this stuff in here, in the long, like I said, on a 2-year forward-looking basis, these are great buys. Here, all of this stuff down here while we're going sideways was good. So we're getting close. We're getting close to this 100-day moving average, and we'll see if we play below this. And so if we want to kind of keep this going, so for example, if we were to kind of draw this out, this is on a slope, going towards here through, January, something like that. And so, we might interact or come below it. And once we get below a price of, $2,050, $2,000 flat, There looks to be a an opportunity there, and then so we have to kind of say, okay, well, what the risk premium be through that portion, and then so from the aspect of greed, we're breaking this little support of greed I call, and we're breaking below it, and so we want to see this trend back down, hopefully towards 50, and if we have a continual downtrend, it may be towards 30 or 20% even of this metric. And same thing now, we can go ahead and get rid of that. And what kind of risk will we be looking at? And so same thing, we'll see that risk dwindle down as well. So, ideally, because the thing is, we have a higher price here, like this chunk of price action, where we had an opportunity to, buy considerably through August of 2023 in October. So that's just a few months ago, with 5 opportunities to get a nice, entry into the market. And one thing, even though price is higher than it was at the beginning of the year, the risk premium was lower, right? So this was a very investable, sideways movement here. Because why? We were, primed and ready to bounce up. And then so there was an exponential movement here of about, 50% in a short-term time basis. So what we'll see using these things is, yeah, we're gonna pop, lower on the risk metric, and even though price is higher, these are areas we want to highly consider. Hey, put the components together, all three of them, and say, hey, does this make sense? Can I get a good, a good couple positions in over a span of a couple weeks or a couple months as these metrics trend towards the lower portion? So, we'll see. Let's look at some other things in the market. Solana still holding $70. Um, Winners are going to keep winning. I will say Solana is the one of the biggest winners of 2023, not just in price appreciation, but what they are accomplishing as far as their brand. Within crypto, we have Hex, eHex at 2 zeros and a 4. I think the total price for combined Hex is about, I want to say it's a little bit more than a cent, so a cent and some change, give or take. Phantom, 40 cents. Let's look at Phantom. I am constantly talking about Phantom here on the channel, and Phantom has had a nice run, but same thing. I'm not necessarily a person that is trying to buy a whole bunch of Phantom at these prices. A little drop is due in due time, and you just got to be ready for it when it comes. So as you can see, the risk metric is flashing. We're pretty high, and so ideally, if Ethereum is going to be turning around, so will Phantom, and we ideally want to go ahead and grab this thing while we have a lower risk premium. I mean, look at this. Anything below 2, I mean, you could eat all day. And then so that's anything between the price of like 30 cents and below, and we're at 40 cents currently. So we'll see how much of a pullback can we get. It would be nice to dip below the 100-day moving average, but a nice sizable pullback or something that is investable is getting below the 382. And then so if we want to put a price target there, so this 382 on the retracement of this exponential move. So boom, that would be a nice solid entry in it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that 30-cent range. So we have the confluence there. All right. And then, I mean, obviously the sentiment, let's check that out. The sentiment's going to be pretty similar as the risk profile. Yeah. So sentiment, people are greedy for Phantom right now. And they've been greedy for Phantom, for quite some time, since November 2023. So now kind of think time. So if somebody, if this coin has been pumping for a month straight, really not much lower lows or anything like that, things start to subside. So sometimes what you can look for is a divergence with the metrics. So for example, a divergence is slightly happening, just very slightly happening with the extreme greed and fear, but price is continuing to pump. So typically that's a good sign for a turnaround. We could look at a little bit more momentum in terms of looking at the candles in particular with the Heikin-Ashi. So let's take that back down. We'll take this one down. So we can look at the trend, and you can see it's still been a very strong trend going up. So one thing that you can take a look at are the wicks. The wicks are pretty long, but we want to see how does this week close? Are we continuing to have higher candle bodies with higher wicks, or do we see maybe a higher wick, but a small candle body? That's another way to say, okay, cool, a trend change may be happening. For example, we can definitely see that here where we have large candle bodies and large wicks. But then, for example, here we have a smaller candle body with still a large wick. Then that's to say, hey, we're going to be turned around. And then so, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks after, we kind of see that opportunity to, see some negative price action. But same thing, I love this metric because it really helps you not buy anything above the 100-day moving average. And so, you would have waited to DCA here, here. If you're looking at the weekly, if you're looking at the 3-day, you would have had a little bit more opportunity. Obviously, three more times DCA here, 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 and that's for Phantom. Looking at prices, safe investable prices on, like I said, 2 year forward. Looking as an aspect of how we're now taking an analysis of this. So three opportunities and some nice DCAs here through the span of 2023. And that's at wow, cool. 26 cents, 22 cents, 17 cents. Yeah. In the long scheme of things, that's you're gonna be happy you did it. And so, Phantom looking pretty good. Like there's this range from the last uptrend where we had an expansive rush to, I mean, Phantom went from 1 cent to wow, 75 cents, almost basically 80 cents in a very short time frame. And so there's a lot of sell off. And so this range here is going to be the area of where price is going to need to make a decision and struggle to a certain extent. But once we exceed that, then it's open season. So, like the net of Phantom really is, on the long term time scale, if you're investing underneath the dollar, you know, you have an opportunity. But obviously, you want to get a lower risk premium. The higher that we get towards a dollar, the higher the risk. And if you're investing above a dollar for Phantom, you're going to find yourself in the unhappy cohort of people, because you're going to be wanting a 10x or a 20x or a 50x, and the chance of that decreases the higher the price goes. So, Phantom is in an interesting spot, waiting for this to hopefully cool down for DCA. But it's a good thing to monitor. So, what else we got? IOV. So, there's a couple coins that I think that are starting to flip and turn already. So, for example, Illuvium has already flipped bearish, which is a nice sign. Like, so we got the sell, aka the hey, change of direction and momentum. So, I mean, hey, if you want to sell and take some profits, hey, it's up to you. If you want to be a trader, I'm not advocating for anything in particular, but this metric does help that if you do want to do that. You know, we do have a turnaround, and then so we, reached about 120 bucks, and now price is kind of lingering back down to 85 bucks, and we're kind of testing this peak here. So let's kind of get this off. But man, we were able to scrape the bottom, right? A lot of buy signals here on the 3-day chart for Illuvium. Boom, boom, boom. We're looking at 7 amazing buy opportunities and quality buy opportunities before things really got ripping and running. And same thing. Hopefully, we are traveling back towards the 100-day moving average to interact, but there's no guarantee of that. So, um, just kind of keeping the eyes peeled. Let's kind of look and see, hey, what kind of move did we have here? So we had a nice move going from about $40 to 120. And same thing, we would like to see this get to the 382, which we are approaching at about 80 bucks to start maybe a trickle DCA. And that's not using the metrics, but that's just, hey, we've had a little bit of a drawback. This is when you want to start at least looking at it, And then obviously, if we come below a 200-day moving average over the next 2-3 weeks, or a month, give or take, we have an opportunity to potentially maybe get another buy on a confirmation of trend starting to go back up. But you want to be early in that trend. So, yeah, I mean, and risk and sentiment is going to probably tell us the same thing. But this baseline, this baseline price of 38 bucks, if this is like the most unnatural thing to see on a chart, this is clear, like the the team for Illuvium, they are clearly defending this level. Like this is not. You look at a million charts, and it's very rare that you just see something just hold so consistently on many different standpoints. So the closer that we get to $38, I'm licking my chops. Because if you can get a dollar cost average, through a span of a year or two for Illuvium, that's less than $50. You give yourself a great opportunity. We're having a conversation in the Telegram chats in terms of inflation for Illuvium over the next couple years, and just kind of where we're at in this inflation. I want to say 80% of the tokens are out, which that's a very good thing compared to last year. But in the move higher, even getting back to the golden ratio, but getting back to not even that, but the 786 is an incredible move just for a very this is a game that is playable now. They're coming out with the main nets of the game at some point here in 2024, and obviously I think they have their reasons. They maybe want to time some things, who knows, or maybe they're not ready, and that's okay too. But when the game is playable for all and people are able to, hey, win some Ethereum, they're able to bet, do all these little things, collect their alluvials. There's an ecosystem that's budding. And also Bitcoin is doing well. So you put that in conjunction together, this making it to the 618 is a very bearish price target. So if your average is, $50, $60, and we're getting to $400, that gives a 6x, 8x, give or take. But then again, looking at supply and then considering, okay, well, Axie Infinity I think made it to about $10 trillion in terms of market cap last cycle. Even if this accomplishes that, and you kind of add a little bit more to supply coming out, let's say in 2025, so maybe you're looking at about 8 million tokens out, maybe a little bit more than that. Then you look at a price because you take market cap and you take the circulating supply, and you can see what price is based off those two metrics, and they'll probably give us about a $1,200 price. And I think that's bearish because that's taking a coin off of last cycle. And I think Illuvium is much better than Axie Infinity. So you use these parameters to give you an idea of what does upside potential look like. Um, and so that's doing the moon math. So, and that's like I said, that's extremely bearish. And so, we don't even have to get back to all-time highs for you to have a very nice, sizable gain on your journey to achieving wealth. Uh, and I think this is an easy bet, man. Like in my eyes, this is an easy bet. Even from price today at what, $85, getting in that $1,200 range gives you an opportunity for more than a 10x. So you're looking at 13x, give or take a couple x's, and that's not even making it all the way back, but it's making it considerable, more than 85% back from the down move here. So opportunity there. This is on a little bit more of a pullback. I want to say VRA also is a little bit more on a pullback compared to where other coins are, where they're still trying to hold on to their local highs. VRA has pulled back nicely towards its 100-day moving average. Same thing here, incredible opportunity to accumulate through time. Interesting thing about VRA is it tracks very closely with Bitcoin, but outperforms it to the upside. In some scenarios, 6 to 1, 10 to 1. Um, just for example, from COVID to the top for Veracity, 202x. Beautiful. But for the average person that could have potentially DCA'd, so let's say you DCA'd, here, and so you had like a whole year to do that. And let's say you didn't get the top. Let's say you're a super late, like let's say like you're this sell signal here, that's like way after. You still locked in a 34x, but being a little bit more savvy, I think you could you could DCA through this range, kind of seeing and feeling that okay, cool, this thing is really getting overheated, and using a couple metrics that we have on the screen, so you could have had an opportunity to take some profits here, here, and here. So we'll take the average of that, which is somewhere around 4 cents, let's call it. So 4 cents, and maybe you still have a lot of the VRA back. Maybe you're only DCA'd out maybe 50% of the stack. On that 50% of the stack, you still would have got a nice 50 banger.
what is that, 57x? And that's, like I said, not even getting everything perfect, you know. So, with that kind of being the framework of what we're thinking here moving forward, this thing tracks very well with Bitcoin. We could look at that pretty easily. So let's pop Bitcoin up. And what I'll do is I'll get rid of these for now. So we know how to use those incredible tools. And let's look at Bitcoin. And let's just put this on the weekly chart. Let's try to get that to be pretty equal here. All right. Cool. And we'll turn everything off. All right. Is everything set? Yes. Symbol, crosshair. Cool. Time. Cool. All right. So now everything's congruent. So as y'all can see, and for some reason it changed the top one to Bitcoin. Let's go back to VRA. VRA. Oh, nope. No, I see what I did wrong. Sorry about that. Symbol. That one's off. All right. So let's take this one to Bitcoin. BTC. All right. So let's get all these previous notes out of here. That way we can just see the chart. Or if anything, we can just turn everything off. All right. So one thing that we're able to see is like the movement. So we can go all the way back to COVID. And so let's line this up as precise as we can. All right, cool. So movement. This thing really starts to track with Bitcoin. I would say late 2020, the movements. And so as you guys can see on the chart, so November of 2020, this thing says, hey, Bitcoin, I want to pair with you as far as momentum. And it's been spot on. And so let me just change these to regular candles. All right. So, because I want to, like really try to get into the detail, because a lot of people are like, hey, why would you even consider VRA? And this, may not, this is more of a scratcher, it's not necessarily, hey, let me build my whole portfolio off of an altcoin that is ranked. I don't know what this thing is ranked. It's not in the top 100. So here in November of 2020, we start to see this thing pair with Bitcoin pretty dang good. All right, there we go. Cool. And so through time, we can easily see how it's correlating with peaks. It's coming down, from the wick. July of 2021, same thing. We had that summer lull, and then we bounced back up. Had hump number one, hump number two, hump one, hump two for Bitcoin. It tracked down step for step with Bitcoin in the bear market. Several red candles after all the situation with Rose Capital and Luna. Same thing here for VRA. Trended sideways. When Bitcoin decided to pump, so did VRA. The only small discorrelation was this chunk of time, which I consider VRA to just be on a nice discount since it normally is tracking with Bitcoin, or this period here, where Bitcoin decided to hold a little bit better while VRA dumped a little bit more. But a lot of that is due to inflation. And same thing, as Bitcoin decided to trek back up in price, so does VRA. And so, for example, we're looking at these movements. And so let's take this movement here from the low here in like January up to like this first expansive move higher to April. So for Bitcoin, we're looking at, okay, cool, doing like an 86% gain. Under that same time frame and under that same movement, we had VRA do a 400% gain. So, outperforming Bitcoin 4 to 1 with that move there. Same thing here. Bitcoin decides to move, and let's see if we can line that up a little bit better. So Bitcoin decides to move. This is September of 2025, or so December 25th, 2023. So Bitcoin goes from about, what's that? And this is a big move for Bitcoin, by the way, $26,000 up into this high of 44. So 73% gain. VRA under that same time period does just about 124%. So it's going to outpace Bitcoin with very similar moves. And then if Bitcoin is pumping and this is not pumping, that's your opportunity to DCA. Once we start to get these really large candles in the bull run, we will see a very expansive movement for VRA. So what's on the table? Like, so for example, for Bitcoin to get back to its all-time high from current price, you're looking at 63%. Now for VRA, something that's tracking alongside, because the biggest thing is where's it at in its retracement back towards its all-time high, right? And so for VRA to get back to its all-time high, boom, instead of a 60% gain, now you're looking at 11x. Not bad. So, this is something to really monitor, or something that I'm monitoring. So VRA looks pretty solid in terms of its movement. And the question you have to ask, hey, did this die? Did this die off? And when you see candles like this, when you see movement like this, right? Momentum. So let's look at momentum. The momentum is still here. And we're in 2023. So this survived a 97% drawdown. So high risk premium up here for the people that bought, unfortunately. But I love these sideways movements, right? These sideways movements are where you get your base, right? Just like the people here had their opportunity to get their base, get their position before the party gets started. It's the same type of scenario here, you know? And so Bitcoin breaks out to new all-time highs. There is a good likelihood that this will as well. So, where do you want to be at in the queue? Are you early in the queue? You late? So really, I mean, ideally, the closer that we get down to 2 zeros and a 2, the better for you. The risk gets higher the moment that we go above 1 penny. So that's VRA for you. So, we talked about a couple opportunities out here that are already pulling back because Bitcoin, for example, is just starting to pull back. Just starting to pull back. Let's look at this chart here. Like we don't even see a red Heikin-Ashi candle yet for Bitcoin. So the candle is still green, and finally we're starting to see like this week is going to tell us a lot really, because if we don't see even a wick above this candle, like if this candle continues to kind of stagnate and we don't move higher and we don't have a wick higher, then that's what a turnaround looks like, So we can see it like periods like here, like periods like up in here. Same thing here. So, we may have an opportunity to have, a month, maybe 2 months of relaxation, which we need in order to go higher. And that correlation is very strong with things like the NASDAQ. So if we want to come back, I got over here on the side, we want to come back to the NASDAQ. Let's see. Same thing here, right? But the NASDAQ, man, the NASDAQ has been unrelentless. Like, look at this candle body. The NASDAQ has been unrelentless. So if the NASDAQ is going to keep pumping, then it'll drag Bitcoin up with it slowly, But just like any expansive move, you've got to have a drawback at some point. So we're looking at macro now. We're looking at stocks to a certain extent. Let's go out and pull some of the tools. So let's pull out the tools, indicators, my script. All right, risk indicator. All right, so let's just look at, trend, and let's actually put this on the weekday. So 3-day. All right. So we had a very nice move in 2023 for the Nasdaq. Really, the magnificent seven. So the magnificent seven. We're talking about Apple, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, Nvidia. There's a couple more in there. Did I say Google? Basically, 7 stocks that lead the whole stock market, and also the Nasdaq. This move here is pretty dang impressive. A 45% move, almost a 50% move. I mean, if we get the wicks, that's a 50% move, 52% move in half a year. So 6-month time series. You got to ask yourself, in the life of the NASDAQ, when has that ever happened in 6 months? And just from COVID. And we know that was an incredible amount of QE. Other than that, we haven't seen trajectory like that in some time. So through a span of 6 months, so from 2017 to 2018. So 2017 to 2018, boom. So let's get that lined up a little bit better. So at best, 44%, but that was a whole year. This took 6 months to do a move like this. So the retracement off of a crazy, kill the bears type rally, the retracement came back down to 236. That's standard pullback. And so in the grand scheme of things as well, you want to look at the larger move from COVID to the all-time high. So from COVID, grab the wicks to the all-time high and see, hey, where did we play? Where did we play around? So we played around, bounced off 236, tried to rally, came back down, played around with 382, had resistance at 236, came back down to the 0.5, back up to 382, bounced off 0.5 again, broke through, used 382 as support, easily broke through 236, and playing around in this top end of price action. So let's go ahead and take a fixed volume profile of this downwards move and the upwards move to see, hey, where do the chips fall? So there's 2 cohorts of people that accumulated below this level here and people that accumulated pretty heavily above. So these are the people that have a higher risk premium, because you can see the amount of volume that got picked up in this period here, but then the people with the smart money that, picked up their coins, or, I say coins as in money, but picked up their stocks or their asset, here below. So this is the over and under, the general basis for the NASDAQ. All right, so we can take that off. And so there's a lot of people who have their positions here, and these are people that are holding and accumulating their assets for their portfolio. A lot of these go to pension funds. A lot of, this stuff goes to asset managers. But, as we are having a little bit of a Santa rally here, the interesting thing is, positioning for 2024. And the fact that we have a nice uptrend, because seasonally for stocks, it's kind of like, hey, let's book our profits and, go ahead and, get ready for the next year. So as you can see, not a lot of people are booking those profits. They're saying, hey, we got to make up for this incredible devastation of a year for stocks and bonds in 2022. So they may just be, they're letting it roll, it seems like. That's what the market is showing us. So, we can pop the Bollinger Bands up and see that we've been riding the upper end of the Bollinger Bands. And for the NASDAQ, I mean, there's no look of trend change, not at least this week. So, this thing, as far as crypto, to get a good investable DCA, as I'm looking at it, may be a little bit longer than you think because sometimes things just keep going up when you don't expect them to. So, the rules to play that is depending on your positioning in your overall portfolio and how how, like, essentially, like, the way that I see that is, hey, do you feel like you've got enough in the market? Because if you feel like you don't, then do a little bit today or do a little bit this week, because there's no guarantee for a drawback, like a serious drawback. So, Nasdaq is pumping higher. Now let's take a look at the bonds. So TLT here has had same thing, an incredible reversal. So the yield is dropping because people are starting to buy these bonds back up. Now the question is, can we sustain it? And we have some resistance here. So let's look at this on the daily. So we went past 100-day. What moving average do we find ourselves coming and kind of coming to a little bit of a resistance here? So let's see 150-day, see if that lines up for us. And this is like, now what I'm kind of jumping into is just like, hey, when you're kind of taking your personal analysis, nope, past 150-day. Let's look at the 200-day. And it's probably going to give us some resistance here at the 200. Oh, we're breaking through the 200. What about 250? 250. 250. Okay, yeah. So we are coming up on 250. So moving averages that I've used a lot here on the channel are going to be the 60-day and the 250. The reason being is because you want to look at the amount of actual trading days in the year, and that's excluding weekends, and you'll find yourself close around 250 days. That's why we have that moving average. And excluding weekends, holidays. So we can take off this for now. So we find ourselves TLT. We've come up to it a couple times in 2023 without being able to break through. This is a pivotal moment because if we get trounced back down, and people got to understand the bond market is a lot larger than crypto. The bond market is larger than the NASDAQ. So it's something to pay attention to. With this being at this 200-day moving average, if we face some severe resistance and we struggle to break through it, then, there's a good chance that we'll get that pullback that we need or that we would like if you're a person saying, hey, I want more crypto. And this is an area to pay attention to. So this line here, this moving average, it's going to be it's going to be a great indicator and say, hey, if we find ourselves getting divergence away from this moving average, okay, there's an opportunity here. The Bollinger Bands, we are trekking up on the high end, but I want to look at the weekly. And have we touched the top one yet? Ooh, getting close. Yeah. So we're touching or getting close to touching the top Bollinger Band on the weekly for this chart. And, typically this is a part where, the market's going to have to make a decision. And if it decides to not break through it or press and turn this Bollinger Band and turn it upwards, if it decides to get there and stall out, then the likelihood of this coming back down to the midpoint increases. And that's pullback for NASDAQ as well. That's going to be pullback for Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's going to be pullback for all your favorite altcoins. And so, there's opportunity there. And then potentially, and the thing is, with the range being so wide, that's where you want to look first and foremost before you think, oh, okay, I got to wait for it to get all the way down to the bottom. The reason why, for example, look at this range here. It's very tight. So it's very easy for it to go from top to bottom. With a range that's, higher, and you have to look at the overall sentiment of many different markets, and the overall economic positioning, right? We are in a time of going into some type of expansion and liquidity, which we've already been receiving that. Because look, I'm gonna go on limb and say this: if I pull up the total global liquidity, I'm going to venture to say, I'm not 100% sure, but let's see, that it's going to track this TLT to a certain extent, but especially this move in October, we're going to see global liquidity increasing. Let's see if I'm right. So let's see global liquidity, global net liquidity. Let's pop it up. Well, would you look at that? So this thing tracks pretty dang well with global liquidity, as y'all can see. It's here in orange. So, the gyrations, the movements, the momentum, very similar. So, global liquidity is a function of more units being put into the circulation than being taken out. And then these are units that can be used in the market. And so, yeah, global liquidity is bouncing up higher, TLT bouncing up higher. Same thing. This type of move, this candle, is not showing any type of relaxation within this week. So for a pullback, it might take a little bit more time than we're expecting, but sometimes crypto pulls back a little bit sooner than these other things. Okay, we're starting to see things in crypto pull back already. Not everything, but like the few scenarios that we looked at with VRA and ILV in particular. So let's also look and say, okay, cool. What does the fear and greed look like? Or maybe even just like the risk. Let's do this. So what does the risk look like? So for bond holders, they've been crushed, and this sucks, man. Like to have this type of movement, ouch, man. Like, and let's actually look at this on the monthly, so y'all can kind of get a bigger idea. So since 2000, TLT is just it's been in a vacuum. It's been in a channel. Let's take a look. Like it's been in a considerable channel for the most part, with a couple areas of where it has broken out. But the interesting thing is, this right here, this breakout, oh man, look at the timeline. So April 2020, this right after COVID, and this is where all those banks got in trouble buying a whole bunch of long duration bonds. It's so crazy, man. When you put the story together, that's so funny. It broke out of this channel during this time when the Treasury was saying, hey, come and grab these bonds, long durations. And they had duration risk because they're locking themselves into bonds that weren't paying out that much. Then the Fed decides to change interest rates, and then boom, man, crushed. They haven't been crushed like this, not even in the great financial crisis. Like the GFC, bonds weren't crushed as bad as they were. I mean, okay, cool, 28%, but bonds literally just got shellacked, double that. This is the biggest bond, man. Oh gosh, throwaway because these are people that are selling these at a loss now. You know, that sucks. So, with that being said, where we're at in the bond market, as far as people actually allocating towards it, it's been pretty bearish for 2 years. We have a little bit of life this past month for the first time in a long time. Reason why I say that is because these candle bodies are not as full as the one that we have here. The risk premium, like I said, on a 2-year forward-looking basis for people buying bonds, getting shellacked, but it's getting better, right, through time. So what this is telling us is even if you're, buying these long durations or short duration bonds in this downtrend, you accumulate through time over the next 2 years is looking pretty favorable for you. So just like periods here, where boom, bonds are looking pretty whack, but you accumulate them through time, risk premium still pretty low. on a 2-year basis, even from this point, March of 2017, here you find yourself in an uptrend. March 2019, risk premium low here of December 2018, December 2020, find yourself at a higher valuation. So, this risk metric is helpful even on a monthly, even at looking at something like bonds, um, which we'll see a turnaround. There's definitely a little bit of divergence here with this. So, that coming down, this holding more steady. And that's typically saying, okay, potentially a move to the upside is going to be upon us in the years to come. So this is very interesting information that we're looking at. So let's take a pause. A lot of stuff. We're at an hour 30. Do you guys have any thoughts? Anything that y'all are thinking? What's good, JE? Hope you're doing well. Yes, sir. Still live, baby. Let's go. Still at it. Sometimes I literally sit here for 5 hours, 6 hours, and do this. It's a good exercise. Dan T, what's going on, brother? Um, this is what I look like. This is what I like to look at, and what I envision myself as winning on a daily basis. Like if I have a chance, an opportunity to do something like this in a day, I feel like I'm winning today because I increased my knowledge. I'm preparing for things. I'm putting things in place, getting ready. This is what like. This is what it takes. This is what it looks like, in my opinion, and I hope you guys form your own opinion for yourselves to say, hey, due diligence, not just hey, I heard this coin or I heard this stock or I feel like. Nah, you gotta put in the work, man, and use a suite of tools. So let me actually talk about that before we wind it down. I've thought for a long time on if I wanted to extend these tools out to the open market. So you guys, and I've been working on them for some time. Information overload, it always, and so yeah. Before I get into that, information overload, you gotta chew on this stuff. You gotta take your time. The thing is, you have to overload yourself for it to really start to stick, and like that's the truth. You gotta expand your capacity. And Wade, I know for the fact because we've talked offline a couple times. Like, over the past year, I know you can definitely say your capacity has increased. And so, because think about it, these guys that are creating these chains, creating these EVMs, like I listen to them. Like I was listening to Andre Cornge, the guy that is the big guy behind Phantom, and he's saying these things where I'm just like, what the heck is he talking about? But I watched it twice. I understood more the second time. I'm gonna probably watch it again in a couple of days. I'm gonna understand more the third time to listen to. So I'm willing to put myself through the fire because the more that I can understand what he's doing, the better I can understand what this whole thing is about. Yeah, he's talking dev talk, but understand those things inspire me to learn how to code certain things on TradingView, learn how to use PineScript. Like, so getting out of your comfort zone from an informational standpoint it's not for everybody, but this is what exponential gains look like. The more that you do it from a mental standpoint, the better. So yeah, definitely a lot of information. Definitely go back, watch this 2 or 3 times. And this is not for everybody. Like, I don't make videos for people that want a little snippet. Um, I'm putting a lot of time and effort. I'm studying, and basically, y'all are just seeing the aspects of what studying looks like for me. So these streams are not going to be meant, honestly, for like 80% of people. I know that. I'm not going to change. I don't care. Like, people be like, oh man, you got to make yourself shorter. Nope, not doing it. Uh, Simply just because I want to be authentic to myself, but also this is what puts me at the top of my game. Long hours of putting in work because I know the benefits of it. Not just from an aspect of here in crypto, but just in life. Long hours of preparation. It's what got me to play professional football for years and years and years. It's what I credit a lot of things in my life. A lot of success is to saying, hey, I'm willing to put in more time than Joe down the street or Joe across the internet. So, you guys, don't let anybody ever discourage you from you putting in time to something that you know is going to benefit you. Let their opinion be what it is. You keep on rocking. But anyways, oh, and I appreciate that. It's not going to be for everybody, but at the same time, you're not for everybody either. You're going to have the people that enjoy you and that coincide and are going in the same direction as you, and that's all you need anyway. So, anyways, the suite of tools that we were kind of looking at, and this is like the first time I've actually gone through and explained all of them and how to use them, and we can go more in depth. I have some tools that I've made via on-chain data that help us track the short-term cost basis for Bitcoin, but also key, which I made something on Glassnode for Ethereum, because typically we use that as support for pullbacks. And so for pullbacks, those are incredible opportunities for your altcoins. If you're saying, hey, I want to keep investing on the way up, you don't want to do local top. So there's a way that we can see that data based upon the percent of supply that's in profit and the percent of supply that's in loss. But I put it on a oscillator and extracted different standard deviations below to let you know, hey, where the short-term holders are. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I'm believing that I'm gonna make this available to you guys for Christmas here. So here in a couple days, you guys will have the opportunity to. And my thing is like if I'm going to have a product, I'm gonna make sure it's damn good. So if this seems to be of any value to you guys, it'll be available for you guys to go and grab. And I do have a Telegram chat. It's very small, and I like it that way. People ask me all the time that, hey, what's your chat? And I'm like, what chat? I don't have a chat. Simply because I know that they're not serious about crypto. So I'm not doing it to try to scale and try to get a whole bunch of people. It's literally, I want people that have a passion for this stuff, people that really want to do something in terms of their personal wealth. And then we talk about other things outside of that. Like, because a lot of the conversation that we have, and some of these guys are people that I played football with, like, that have large sums of money, I'm just to be honest. And we talk about things that we do with capital. Like we talk about how to do taxes the right way, how to take advantage of getting depreciation on your rental real estate while you're making money off your W-2 or making money off of your capital gains. Like all these things are important. Like I realize all this stuff is important after you've done the hard work and you've gotten the proceeds from that. You need to be thinking about this stuff beforehand, which a lot of people don't talk about. They just talk about, hey, what coin is going to make me a millionaire? Next question that y'all need to ask yourselves is, when I am a millionaire, how am I going to handle it? And trust me, that's a whole mission in itself. So, this chat I think I'm gonna make available to those that want the suite of tools. And like I said, it's gonna be a Christmas gift, so to speak. So y'all be on the lookout for that. And it's just something modest here. I think everybody has something to offer. I think this is what it is for me. And obviously going to continue to do these YouTube streams, but a lot more information, like a lot more precise, detailed information. I kind of give the summation of what we're talking about here, but there's a a lot more in-depth stuff that we look at, or that I look at, that I share with the group. For example, let me give you an example. So let's see. Glassnode. Glassnode is an incredible resource. Yes, you have to pay for it, and that's another thing. I pay a lot of money for this stuff. Um, and so kind of sharing this data that, most people can't even get access to is something that I do as well. All right. So let me see if I can share this screen. Let me log in first. Hold on. Let me go to my workbench. All right. Present. All right. Cool. So y'all should be able to see this. All right. So I got some things here. Um, One is this ratio for the short-term holder supplier. And you're probably looking at this like, what the heck? I'll do like a quick 3-minute introduction if I can fit it into that and see if y'all can understand and go along. So we'll take this off, we'll take that off. We'll start with just bare bones information. All right, so first and foremost, we're looking at Ethereum and we want to turn off all this stuff first. Just want to look at price. All right, so we are looking at Ethereum. And as I mentioned before, we want to look at Ethereum because a lot of altcoins that we are interested in have some type of liquidity bonded to Ethereum in one way, shape, and form via Ethereum or stablecoin. So we want to look at, okay, Ethereum, how are these short-term holders and just people overall holding the coin? Where are they at in their profits and loss, net, so realized, but then also unrealized. And the keyword is net. So net tells you like bottom of the barrel, like, hey, this is like final number. Hey, this is where we're at. Same thing for business. So we need to look at price, and then first we need to look at the percent of supply. So they have that metric here. We can look at the percent of supply that's in profit. As you can see, 90% of the supply is in profit. That's pretty expensive. Now, the question is, this is a little bit hard to read and this doesn't tell me net. So I look at, where things are at, but I want to look at, well, it tells me net, but it doesn't tell me the unrealized side of it. It tells me where everybody is at currently for realized. So I'm sorry, I'm explaining this backwards. Net is going to be the realized profits, right? Like when people realize those profits. Unrealized is going to be, okay, where are they at the beginning of the process before they take profits? So where are they holding their bag? Now, with that being said, I think I explained it right. It makes sense in my head. Just hopefully keep trying to track with me, y'all. So what we need to do is we need to make a formula where we take the moving average and we take the metric and we put it over a 30-day basis because I wanted to look at this in terms of 30-day basis. So this is the formula here. So formula number one. So that smooths it out for us. But then I'd like to make this an oscillator, which is formula number two. So this is kind of like an intro to Glassnode on how to create things that you want to look at. So formula number two is here. So formula number two is you take the metric, you divide it by the first formula that you've made, which was you take the 30-day moving average and you divide that by the metric. So you take the metric, you divide it by your first formula, and then you subtract one, and it gives us this oscillator here. Okay, cool. So let's zoom in on the oscillator. This is key. We'll take price out for a little bit. So this oscillator tells us on a 30-day basis where the supply of profit is at on a 30-day basis. So this is a little bit better for DCA. And this is everyone. We'll then segregate just the short-term holders, which are people that are holding the coin less than 155 days. So we are looking, there's several points in time when we come below this line here. So this line here is the first standard deviation of undervaluation in black. Okay. So now I also want to look at the short-term holder supply as well on an oscillator, and I do the same exact formula. So this is here. Cool. And so we have this on an oscillator for the short-term holders. So I have a couple of standard deviations here. So let's bring that up. And they're very important. So two standard deviations above, one standard deviation below to tell me overvaluation, even better, and then undervaluation, even better. So let's take a look, for example, the what, last year. So and now we're looking specifically at the short-term holder cohort. Um, and here in gray, we have price. So we'll bring price back up. So it looks a little jumbled, but one thing to make this a lot smoother is, which, it'll flash certain color. And so you have to do an if then statement to get these to pop up, which I'll, maybe have to explain in another stream. So whenever we find the short term holder net unrealized profit go below its mean, but then go a standard deviation below its mean. So here in purple, we're going to see yellow flash off. So here and then here. You take that, so that's the short term holders, and then you look at gross, all the holders, and see the percentage of supply below the mean of the standard deviation. So the main mean, and then you see a standard deviation below it. You'll see that pop up in green. And so if you look at price, and so let's just do one at a time. So over a 30-day basis, so here in red, the oscillator, when we get below this purple, these, like I said, price can be higher than what it was previously, but these are the bottom basins where you really want to be looking at your altcoins primarily under purple. So like here, and then basically I have it set to where it's under purple, it will flash. So here, here, briefly here, and hopefully we have a chance coming up here pretty soon. And so we're gonna see that flash, as I mentioned, right here in green. Boom, 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 boom. Now, same thing for the net unrealized profit. So we'll take the first formula off, the oscillator, and we'll put this one here. And this one's going to flash off when this one gets one standard deviation below the mean. It's going to flash off, right? So like all of this period here, which, September and October was that, really good opportunity. And it's going to flash off in yellow for us. So it'll continue to track this as we move forward. And so I have a color, and it's going to be, I have to decide. I think it's going to be like, maybe like orange, when both of them in confluence, because you want to put two things together. So when percent of supply on a 30-day basis is one standard deviation below the mean, and also the short-term holders net unrealized profit and loss on a 30-day basis is below one standard deviation below the mean, at the same time, it's going to flash orange for us. And the reason why I chose these in particular, because if you look at any previous bear market, this is, where it likes to go. And these are the investable portions in an uptrend that keep you a little bit safer on the risk premium. So we see a lot of yellow here, pop up green as well. And then so I'm gonna, continue to develop this to where it'll show orange. And we don't have to look at all the convolution. We can just look at just, one color. So stuff like this, for example, which, ain't nobody gonna show y'all this. But I'm willing to do it, man. For people that are serious about this thing, for people that really want to get the knowledge and have the data, not just opinion, to substantiate it. So yeah, that's that. You guys will be able to partake in the festivities of knowledge and the tools that we kind of have in the back. And yeah, man, use them to your advantage, because same thing as we have these two tools that we can make to protect ourselves on the buy side. There's a lot of tools that we have access to, that on the sell side that we can look at and use to our advantage, and mainly use the short term holders to kind of give us an idea, but also a little bit the long term holders as well, which I'll have to talk about that in another stream to let us know, hey, it's time to start, really booking these profits and to strategically get out of this market the right way. So, with that being said, I appreciate you guys sticking along the whole hour, 46 minutes. A lot to talk about, a lot to think about. But one thing remains the same. You have to decide for your long term goal, what are you going to do today to help you win? And to be honest, I'm trying to help as many people win as much as possible because I already know I'm going to win. Nothing that's going to stop me. You guys have to have that same mentality to truly, truly, truly get there. Um, that's what it takes every single day. And so I appreciate y'all for coming through. Okay, cool. Yeah, we got some people that, that look to hopefully take advantage. So yeah, I'll get that information out here probably on the next stream. And yeah, I will be seeing you guys on the inside. YouTube is just the exterior, right? Outstanding. Cool, cool, cool. Perfect. Um, you know, and at the end of the day, like I said, knowing what to do when you achieve those goals is another thing, because trust me, I've seen a million people fumble the ball when they get to the top, and that's not something that you want to do. You want to be able to handle, what you got when you get it. So I appreciate it. I look forward to talking with y'all on the next stream. Hope y'all enjoy it. Go kill this week. Go win every single day that you can, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.